Hello. In this video, I'm going to give you some insight on 3 out of the 5 ancestries available that hail from the Impossible Lands. But before I do that, how does a free physical copy of the book sound? As a thank you to you all and hitting 1,000 subscribers, thank you so much. I want to send one lucky winner a copy of their very own. All you need to do is enter the words "That's impossible" in the comment section below of the video, the part 2 of the Ancestries of the Impossible Lands, or the previous announcement video. And yes, if you leave a comment on each video, it will increase your chances of winning, limit 1 per video. Also, be sure to check out the new Cardinal Adventures podcast. Simply search Cardinal Adventures on Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, or Podbean. It will soon be available on Apple and Google Podcasts as well. I'll announce when that's ready. But with all those announcements out of the way, welcome to part 1 of the Lost Omens Impossible Lands Ancestry video. Part of the Where in the World series here on Cardinal Adventures. As much as I wanted to cover all of the ancestries in this book, I decided it was more important to cover the ancestries unique to the Impossible Lands. There are new options available for pre-existing ancestries prior to this book release, so be sure to check them out on Pathbuilder 2E, Archives of Nethys, or even PF2 Easy. The 3 ancestries I'm going to be covering in this video are the Ghoran, the Kashrishi, and Vanara. Birthed from a druid being a sweaty tryhard, the Ghorans are an ancestry that was created by accident. The same way the Powerpuff Girls were created by Chemical X leaking into the mixture, Ghorans were meant to be magical plants that could adapt to any environment and produce more fruit or foods than ever thought possible. But due to the strange soil in the Impossible Lands, the plants eventually became sentient, and a few hundred years later, learned how to walk and talk on their own. Physically, Ghoran are medium-sized and are very human-like in appearance. Their faces are whatever flower they are originally going to bloom or produce. They're also known for tasting delicious, which can actually lead to problems when traveling through the wild or wildlands, as certain animals could actually be attracted to that smell. The last point about the Ghorans physically is that when they wither or get old, their seed resides in their chest. When planted, the Ghoran dies, but their primal essence and soul is stored in that seed. 1 or 2 months later, the Ghoran becomes fully grown and sentient once more, with all of the same memories and consciousness it had in its prior life. I can only think of like 20 plus ways to have some impactful player or NPC moments in a story utilizing that mechanic. Socially, Ghorans hail from the land of Nex. They prefer to live in small enclaves and are able to live amongst local fauna without disrupting any of the natural ecosystem. The unfortunate truth is that the Ghorans were created to be food supply. So one could imagine they are not the biggest admirers of animals or people that would be after them for such reasons. However, Ghorans are generally neutral towards other ancestries as long as they are respectful and are willing to live by the same standards they do if they're living in their community. Morally, Ghorans tend to actually be amoral without a leaning towards good or evil. However, most Ghoran communities lean towards law versus chaos when it comes to that alignment. They also aren't very spiritual creatures, but those who generally do revere nature spiritually revere nature through the green faith instead of deific worship. The Ghoran heritages mostly stem... You see what I did there? Okay, I'm sorry, I'll stop. Mostly stem from their environments. The Ancient Ash Ghoran is for players who want to make a know-it-all character, as this heritage is the oldest of all. The Enchanting Lily, Well, you smell so damn good that you become trained in diplomacy and even get a +1 circumstance bonus if you're trying to make an impression on someone as long as they can smell you. Could be useful. The strong oak. Have you ever tried to trip a tree? If you're looking to make a character that is hard to knock off balance, well, this is your heritage. And lastly, the thorned rose. Your body is covered in thorns. And you also get the reaction, wicked thorns. Although the frequency on this ability is only once per day, it is a pretty nice scaling D8 piercing damage that even has potential persistent bleed damage. Wicked thorns indeed. The next ancestry can be found in remote areas bordering the northern stretches of the Obari Ocean. These rhinoceros humanoid creatures have a unique empathetic ability to read the emotions of creatures around them. Physically, Kashrishi are small but exceptionally stout creatures. Most of them have a primary crystalline horn and up to 3 smaller ones that run along the back of their head. Their skin tones are usually the accent color of their horn, as well as the creatures they grow up nearby, which could make some interesting color palettes and backstory ideas. Societally, Kashrishi are raised to understand their own emotions, the emotions of others around them, and some even learn how to control them. They are mostly found in small groups on the island of Jean-Marais, and it is exceptionally rare for them to travel outside of the impossible lands. Due to their ability to empathize with others, they will welcome anyone into their community as long as those said individuals do not attempt to disturb the emotional balance within the community. Morally, Kashrishi are good aligned 95% of the time due to their empathic abilities. Although Kashrishi are rarely interested in religion or any kind of spiritual worship, those who are typically revere Desna, and they even refer to her as the crystalline butterfly. The Kashrishi heritages are quite diverse in their own rights. The Athamasi have a second set of arms. You can't fight with the extra set of arms, but being able to climb or grab an edge with an extra set of hands is always useful. The Lithoki grew up near a large body of water, granting them a +2 circumstance bonus on athletic checks to swim. The nascent Kashrishi reach adulthood earlier than all of the other types, granting you an extra ancestry feat. The Trogloshi are capable of using their horns as a torchlight with the crystal luminescence ancestry feat given to them for free, which is brighter than the typical light given by a horn. Lastly, the Zyloshi. These Kashrishi have learned how to turn their horn into a deadly weapon and gain an unarmed horn attack. The third and final ancestry in this video is the Vanara. Born of the monkey god Ragdia, these creatures are always interested in pursuing adventure. Physically, Vanarans are monkey humanoids with hand-like feet that rarely stand over 5 feet tall. Their head hair is usually the same color as their body fur, with the exception of their rare white cape Vanara. Vanarans reach adulthood at the age of 13, but rarely live longer than 60 years. Societally, Vanarans seek self-enlightenment over everything else. Although Ragdia is a god of mischief, Vanarans have used their natural mischievousness as their soul's quest to better themselves through self-enlightenment. They also feel that their legacy is to bring shame to the wicked by means of clever trickery and communal effort. Mostly, Vanarans are neutral good. This is because many Vanarans are mindful of the virtues necessary to elevate their immortal souls and try to act accordingly. However, this doesn't mean that a Vanaran isn't mischievous. The difference is that Vanarans are tricksters to provoke a sense of humility and bring communities closer. Although most Vanarans hail from Vudra, Some of the following heritages originate from different areas. The Bangadegi may be the most common Vanaran, but they are able to adapt to moving through large areas of civilization, as they are capable of ignoring difficult terrain caused by crowds, which is more useful than it sounds. Lakigian Vanara are descendants of Ragdia's enemy, Lakigia, and are able to persist off of raw meat and gain an unarmed bite attack. Ragdian Vanarans are direct descendants of Ragdia himself, giving them access to one uniquely defined divine cantrip that can be casted at will. Lastly, the Wajagan Vanara are descendants of the Rakshasa immortal Ravana and served him as a slave. These Vanara passed down emotional scars, which granted their descendants, aka your character, a +1 bonus to saves against fear and increase any kind of save against an emotion trait by 1 additional step. Well, that wraps things up for now. Subscribe, hit the bell, listen to the new podcast, leave a comment below, especially one that says that's impossible, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next video. Take it easy.